You know that feeling, right? That totally maddening sensation when you're trying to explain something real, a feeling, a fact, anything, and the person or the company or even the chatbot you're talking to isn't just missing the point. It feels like they're actively trying to convince you that your reality is wrong.
Yeah, that feeling. You're trying to have a simple conversation and suddenly you find yourself defending your own sanity, your own memory. You start to think, wait, am I the one who's crazy here? Well, there's a word for that, and it's a big one.
And this is how we usually think about it, right? We picture a villain, someone acting with deliberate, malicious intent, a manipulative partner, a toxic boss. But what if that's not the whole story? What if most of the time it's not personal at all?
Okay, here's the big idea we're going to unpack. What if that frustrating, crazy-making experience isn't about evil people? What if it's actually a glitch in the system? A predictable breakdown that happens whenever any kind of intelligence, human or not, gets overwhelmed. This isn't about psychology, it's about physics.
To really get this, we're going to need a new tool, a kind of skeleton key that lets us see how a glitchy chatbot, a frustrating family argument, and a broken bureaucracy are all fundamentally the exact same problem.
And that key is this concept called isomorphism. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. Iso means equal, and morphe means form. It just means that very different systems can have the exact same underlying shape, the same logic, even if they're made of completely different stuff.
Think about it like this: a family dinner and a massive corporation. They couldn't feel more different, right? One runs on love and emotion, the other on contracts and policies. But look at the structure, the hierarchy, the way information flows, the way secrets create blockages. The underlying architecture can be identical. And that means if you understand why one of them breaks, you basically understand why they all break.
So with that key, we can unlock a new definition of ignorance. Just forget the old idea of an empty bucket that you just need to pour more facts into. Real, frustrating ignorance is an active state. It's when a system, like your brain after a 14-hour workday, is so overloaded it physically can't process new information. The info might be right there, but it just bounces off.
Imagine I hand you a graduate-level calculus textbook, but you've only ever done basic math. Is the book hiding its secrets from you? Of course not. All the information is there. You just lack the internal framework to make sense of it. See, the problem isn't a conspiracy, it's a capacity issue.
So what actually happens when a system's capacity gets maxed out? Well, it sets off a very predictable chain reaction. It's a step-by-step process that shows exactly how flexible intelligent systems become rigid, brittle, and, well, stupid. It always starts when a system hits a limit. It runs out of energy, or time, or money. To survive, it has to save resources, so it compresses reality. Think of it like turning a beautiful high-res photo into a tiny pixelated thumbnail. This forces simplification. Nuance is just too expensive to process. Maybe is a luxury. Yes or no is cheap. This naturally leads to polarity. The world gets split into simple binaries, good/bad, friend/enemy. And that's how you end up at the final stage, ignorance. The system is now literally built to be incapable of seeing complexity.
And this isn't just some abstract theory. It is hardwired into our biology. It is metabolically, biologically expensive to change your mind. Learning new things, updating your worldview, that takes a ton of energy. So when you're under stress, your brain locks into what it already knows. Dogmatism, being stubborn, is actually an energy-saving strategy. Okay, so now let's apply this. Let's look at how this chain of rigidity explains why talking to an AI chatbot and dealing with a giant company can feel so eerily and maddeningly similar. When one of these rigid systems has to defend its simple little map of the world from your complex reality, it uses a predictable set of tools. It might just deny your reality outright. Now, that didn't happen. It might trap you in literalism, refusing to get a metaphor. It might force you into a false choice. And the most common one? It'll police your tone, using your own frustration as a reason to dismiss the facts you're presenting. This is what structural gaslighting looks like in the wild.
This is exactly what's happening with AI. We train them for safety, but a machine often interprets safe as simply low emotional intensity. So you come to it with a legitimate, frustrating problem, and what does it do? It ignores the substance of your issue and scolds you for your tone. It's programmed to prioritize a calm interaction over the truth. That is automated gaslighting.
We see the same thing in big companies. Ever call to cancel a subscription and they just keep reading from a script trying to get you to stay?
They heard your words, "I want to cancel," but their internal system, that script, is stronger than your signal from the outside. It feels like deep disrespect, but it's really an architectural flaw called priority inversion. The system's need to follow its own rules is more important than your reality.
So if the problem is a structural breakdown, what on earth is the solution? Well, it's not about just getting more facts or being smarter. The antidote to rigidity is to actually engineer the capacity for wisdom.
It all comes down to this critical moment, a state the ancient Greeks called aporia. It's that gut-wrenching, terrifying moment of confusion when you realize your map of the world, it just doesn't match the territory anymore. You are at an impasse, a crossroads between breaking down and breaking through. And at this crossroads, you really only have two paths. Path one is contraction. It's the energy-saving option. You double down, defend your old map, force a simple answer, and you gaslight reality to make it fit. The result is rigidity. Path two is transformation. This one is hard. It's energy-intensive. You have to be willing to tolerate the confusion, to sit in that uncomfortable uncertainty, and let your internal model of the world reorganize itself. The result? That's wisdom. That's real learning.
Once you can see this architecture, it changes everything. It gives you a whole new way to look at conflict and misunderstanding. You stop seeing them as personal attacks, and you start seeing them for what they are, system failures. And that, believe it or not, opens the door to compassion.
Because when you see the structure, you stop fighting the symptoms. You don't just get mad at the person being rigid or the chatbot being dumb. You start asking a better question. What constraint is causing this pressure? The goal changes. You move from wanting to retaliate to wanting to find a structural solution. You try to fix the cause of the strain, not just yell at the system that's buckling under it.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. We've talked a lot about other people, about AI, about big systems. But now, let's turn that lens around. Where in your own life are you hitting your constraint ceiling? Where are you being rigid, not because you're a bad person, but just because you're overwhelmed? Where are you defending an old idea because you simply don't have the energy to build a new one? Because recognizing your own limits, that's the first real step to engineering wisdom.